Ghost of Yotei has one of the best open worlds I've ever experienced. It's a game where you want to wander and stop whenever something grabs your attention, because there's a good chance it will lead to a fun little adventure with a nice reward at the end. This is such a step up from Tsushima, where the map was filled with the same activities that quickly got repetitive, not to mention the handful of random encounters that they kept repeating. In Yotei, almost everything feels handcrafted, put together with a lot of thought. I would even dare to say that it comes close to what Red Dead Redemption 2 accomplished. But Yotei is also a game that feels more like a redo than a sequel. If, like me, you put hundreds of hours into Tsushima and the Iki Island DLC, some moments won't be as exciting, and many of the unlocks you earn along the way are ones you've already used before. But it did not stop me from really enjoying the gameplay though. The new weapon types give you more freedom in how you approach encounters than I first expected, and it's huge that we now have multiple enemy factions instead of only fighting the Mongols throughout the whole game. I now finished the story, have done a lot of the side content, so I want to share my spoiler-free thoughts in this video. All the footage you see here is from the first chapter of the game, so no need to worry. And this first chapter is very open, by the way. In Tsushima you had to complete a lot of main missions in one region before you could move on to the second and then the third. In Yotei, most of the map becomes available relatively early, and it's up to you in which order you want to tackle things. The game kicks off with a strong linear opening that you should experience for yourself. Let's just say that Atsu quickly makes a name for herself as the Anryo hunting the Yotei 6. A group of high-ranking soldiers led by Lord Saito. So already early on, while exploring the world, you will run into Saito's men who attack you on sight, as well as Ronins who saw the bounty on your head and are looking for a quick coin. The cool part is that your interactions with these enemies are always a little different. You might come across Ronin questioning settlers about your whereabouts, or someone pretending to need help fixing a broken cart, only to ambush you with his friends. Surviving these encounters often lets you interrogate the last remaining enemy for intel on key objectives, after which you can choose which lead to follow first. But there's a high chance that on your way to your next main story mission, you will constantly get distracted. NPCs around campfires might ask for your help. Sometimes it's a short 10-minute side quest, other times it's a longer one that rewards you with an entirely new armor set. Atsu has a wolf companion that shows up randomly, but to strengthen your bond you'll need to look out for wolf dens. Saito wants these animals gone, so it's your job to rescue them from nearby encampments. Each camp also comes with its own little twist, and saving these wolves always gives you a skill point to invest in the wolf skill tree, so the creature can more frequently help you out. But my favorite new activity is going after the bounties in each region. Every target has a short story and its own personality. It's a nice way to earn some quick cash, and sometimes you even get a unique item out of it as well. But for the most exciting rewards, you will want to hunt down the mythic tails. They are even more varied than in Tsushima, let you go to some very cool environments, they have a unique gameplay twist. It's really one of the most exciting content in the game. There are actually quite a few activities from Tsushima that return in Yotei, like bamboo cutting, shrines, onsens and fox dens, but developer Sucker Punch has done an amazing job of keeping them fresh this time around. For one, you unlock the impactful upgrades much faster. Onsens always increase your health, and you only need a few bamboo strikes for a new spirit orb, instead of 7 for the final upgrade in Tsushima. On top of that, every single one of these activities you come across has its own unique twist. One time I saw someone struggling to cut bamboo with a stolen sword, so I had to show them how it's done. Another time I had to drink 2 bottles of sake and then try to cut the bamboo while drunk. And trust me, there are many more fun ones you'll want to see for yourself, where these could easily become tedious. In Tsushima, in Yotei, I'm always excited to find them, just to see what new idea they came up with. I'm also pleasantly surprised by the extra freedom we get in how we can approach combat. That said, there are some choices I'm not a huge fan of and that I think could have made the game better. So a lot to go over real quick. If you are enjoying the video so far, would be awesome if you could leave a like, subscribe so you don't miss a ton of the spoiler-free tips and tricks we're working on. And if you have any questions about the game, drop them in the comments and I will do my best to answer them. Of course, the biggest new addition to Ghost of Yotei are the new weapon types. You start with a single katana, but very quickly unlock the dual katanas, which feel completely different and are especially effective against spear-wielding enemies. As you might know, stances are no longer in Yotei. Instead, you switch weapons depending on the enemy you are facing. In essence, it's still kind of similar, but wielding a Yari spear or a kusarigama is obviously more exciting than just having a different moveset for the katana. The kusarigama is in particular a ton of fun to use because it's quite different versus the other weapons you have, with the short range sickle and the long range AoE ball and chain. It even adds a new stealth move that lets you quietly take out enemies from range by pulling them towards you. But still, the downside of these weapons basically taking the place of Tsushima's stone, water, wind and moon stances is that it's hard to stick with your favorite. If you do, it will be less effective than picking the quote-unquote right weapon. Luckily, this is where the Odashi comes in. This enormous sword is great against brutes, but also really powerful against the other enemy types, letting you basically ignore the whole rock, paper, scissors gameplay. Like, I had the most fun experimenting with loadouts, using the returning charms and armor sets to build around this slow but very powerful sword. Now, I do wish the RPG elements went a bit further though. A cool new addition are the ranks for the charms, which increase their effectiveness as you complete certain challenges. This really entices you to play in fun new ways. But that said, the armor sets are once again tied to a single playstyle, even though Yotei's combat is at its best when you mix things up, sneak around, then pick off enemies maybe with a ranged weapon, and then finish the rest off in melee combat. But an armor set will only benefit one of these playstyles. It would have been cool if we could grab one perk from one armor set and put it on another armor set to make our own playstyle. Another issue is that we've seen most of these armor perks before in the first game. Yotei would have been much stronger if it introduced more new ways to play instead of repurposing many items and unlocks from Tsushima. Over the course of the game, Atsu is basically catching up to where Jin was at the end of his journey. Many of the main story unlocks or even rewards from the 30-minute long Mythic Tales give you things that you've already used countless of times before. Sure, give Atsu the ability to listen again or set her weapon on fire, or tools like a smoke bomb or kunai. But when around 75% of your arsenal is the same as in Tsushima, it does feel like they kinda dropped the ball here. What I do like is that once again you can easily miss certain unlocks if you don't explore. The skill system is actually brutal this time. If you don't search for altars scattered across the world, you could finish the main story with only a few skills unlocked. In Tsushima it was possible to more or less mainline the game, but in Yotei that will significantly impact your experience. Next to a lot of skills, you will also miss out on some melee weapons and tools if you just focus on the main story. You will only have 3 armor sets. It will really feel like a completely different game. Dennis in the JorRaptor team played the game that way and kind of regrets it. So if you usually do the main story content first and then the side content, rethink that, because it's way better to just explore the world and take things as they come. Another interesting thing I had when booting up this game for the first time, it reminded me why this PlayStation 5 generation has felt so weird. Because it just hits different when a Sony first-party studio makes a game specifically designed for the new hardware. My recorded footage and the YouTube compression doesn't do it justice. This game looks insanely good. The draw distance is incredible. If you got a big screen, you'll be blown away by what Sucker Punch has achieved. With the PlayStation 5 Pro offering a mode that still targets 60 FPS with a higher resolution than the base PS5's performance mode, and also still has ray tracing. The DualSense features are also a great addition. They make smart use of the touchpad for the Sumi-A painting that you have to do sometimes. They did not need to go as far as the Forge or camping mini games, but the nice thing is that you can skip them all if you want. I just love that these weird little things are in the game. It's become too rare to see a title fully use everything the PlayStation 5 has to offer. So the elements that Sucker Punch set out to improve in Ghost of Yotei, like the open world and its activities, are some of the best we've seen in the genre. Almost every activity or character you come across has a fun twist or side story that is worth exploring. The world itself is much more diverse now, with snowy regions, huge mountains, and a wide range of new enemies to face using the brand new weapon types. Now, I do wish those weapons weren't as heavily tied to the stances from the first game, but they still add a lot of variety, with the Odashi clearly standing out as the best addition to really shake things up. Where this ranks among the PlayStation Studio sequels really depends on your personal preference. If you love going off the beaten path and immerse yourself in a large open world, this will likely be very high for you. But if you mainly play these games for the story, you might feel that Yotei does not hit the same highs. Also again, mainlining this game is not the way to go. Personally, I wish Sucker Punch had added more new unlocks, playstyles and RPG elements to make this really feel like a next step instead of a redo of Tsushima. But I also realized that that's more a personal gripe, coming from someone who spent a lot of time with Jin. It doesn't stop the game from being an absolute joy to play, and a reminder why PlayStation exclusives in a generation are so important. So take your time, enjoy Ghost of Yotei, as we don't get many of these anymore. And totally subscribe, of course, for a lot of spoiler-free tips and tricks, as you expect. Leave questions in the comments, I'll do my best to answer them. A like on the video would be awesome, and I will speak to you very soon. Goodbye.